Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Hi, I'm Z. I'm a partner here at Actuate Ventures. It's been an interesting week. Been working on a lot, catching up from where we were last week. Kind of making connects, having a bunch of our guys out and about, floating around the U.S., meeting some new people. It's great to have you here listening with us.
Great to be here, Z. Thank you for that. So we've had a few more travels, and it's been very interesting being out in different places while things are still happening on the back end, because I'm usually used to like maybe one team member helping out with a little something somewhere else while I'm focused on something else, but now we have a whole team behind it. So Chris and I recently flew out to I will turn that off. But Chris and I recently flew out to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl week. There are some friends of ours that were pretty much saving an entire week of Super Bowl events where the main sponsor had pulled out. So it was kind of like herding cats to save a few of these events, but they were able to do so quite successfully. So it was a pretty good time out there. You want to share a few highlights of some of the happenings?
Yeah, no kidding. For me, I had to fly in later than Andrew. For those wondering, it was Lunar New Year, the day before the Super Bowl, and it is in my household tradition and many others in East Asia that you are home for New Year's. So I wish to honor that tradition, high water, and and the folks on this team absolutely respect that. And when we went down to Vegas, responded well to that as well. They understood familial obligations and community were very important, and Andrew being down there showed that he cared about their community, and we were received and well validated in those efforts. And it was really about us going down to help a friend who reached out to us, who we didn't have financial motives. It was our weekend, and it was kind of a fun thing to think about. It's like, oh, we're going to in town for Super Bowl. It's going to kind of be crazy. I've never been down to Vegas for an event like that. But yeah, there was a lot packed in a very short amount of time. So we'll try to unpack it because my memory is already fading because the days were long and the events were somehow longer and shorter at the same time.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up the week. So you hear Vegas and you hear Super Bowl, and then you put those together in the same context, and it sounds like one big party. There definitely were a lot of parties all around, but that wasn't necessarily the vibe for what we were going through. We did go to a couple of. Was able to attend like a couple of events that were allowed us to kind of show face and network a bit, which was nice. But really, the main focus was coordination, helping to make sure the events were covered. Our friend Daniel at Game Day crushed it in cahoots with JC and Ken from Main Street Bonds and Mountain Crest Investment Partners. Peter from Mountain Crest was out there as well. And 22 Salute had stepped up to fill the monetary gap that the main sponsor had left. So it was a pulling together of multiple people. Dan took it upon himself to reach out to his network and the people that he knew could probably have some sort of impact in saving the day. And they did. They really, really did. In addition to ensuring that the events went on, there were other sponsors that were involved that were flying in from all over the country, like the United Natives group and the women in, I think it's Women in Sports. Both of them were, those groups were able to still have their events. The city of Las Vegas definitely supported in all these efforts as well. They were the backbone in helping to curate a lot of this, but like boots on the ground, Daniel and JC crushed it really. Yeah, week's worth of events. Everybody came through. One of the cool events that we went to was there was a handful of kids, like I think it was like up to 150 kids that went to an event on Saturday. It was a tech event where they got educated on kind of the current and future state of tech. And the founder of Legible came in, and the co-inventor of the Cricut cutting machine came in and did some impromptu activations and kind of showed kids some innovation in the future of technology, which was pretty cool. And then a lot of relationship building. But at the end of the day, the showing up without an ulterior motive, because like Dan and Game Day were granted a ton of advertising opportunities and event participation opportunities and good positioning. They gave all of that away to the people who were able to come in and help orchestrate the financial aspect of it, and they wanted to make sure that they were taken care of at the very, very top of the list. So it's just this very open, mutually beneficial environment where everybody was kind of giving to everybody, so that the rising tide raises all ships kind of thing. And ironically enough, Dan and Kenneth and Peter and I think the co-inventor of cricket as well are all from Utah. That's actually where we met them. So to kind of continue on that speaking well of the community and how everybody just really wants to help each other succeed, I think this was another over exemplification of that. 22 Salute and JC, one of the main event coordinators, were recognized by the city of Las Vegas with a congressional recognition. So the impact of everybody coming together was definitely felt and recognized. So that was pretty cool. It was very cool. And there's a lot happening in Vegas as well, in the venture space, in the startup space, and um, in the gaming and esports space as well. So that was really cool to be a part of, like ears to the ground conversations of, and we're going to be getting involved in some of that as well to kind of elevate another city that's stepping up to create an environment like that.
Try to remember our best about the fine details that will help us actuate on things. But right now, as listeners will tuning in, will kind of realize this is not the same level of energy that we normally bring to the table.
Yeah, it
And
was
I
it was
might
a
even
really
step
long
away
week.
to make a second or third coffee during this recording. I should just make a big jug in the future.
Yeah.
But I think it
usually
might
fill up
be
my
interesting to
Chemex and leave
hear.
it on the side.
Yeah, it might be interesting to hear from the others in the call if they had any initial questions or thoughts. And this way it will jog our memory.
Yeah, there were very long days of being productive, but please.
It's kind of hard for me to imagine like what being in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl is like how crazy that is. I know from the photos that you shared. I'm going to pull those up. Are we allowed to talk about those? Not everything.
Let's hold off on some photos,
Okay.
because we don't know what we're allowed to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can ask questions about some of them, and then we will try our best to describe them.
Just imagining listening to this as a listener with no context,
Yeah.
thinking of Vegas for the Super Bowl. So to
Well,
add
I mean, look, that's our job to paint the story.
Are
Yeah.
you? Did you watch any of the Super Bowl? Like, are you into football, or it just like happened to be that it was a Super Bowl event?
Yeah, I wanna add a little bit of clarity to ambiguity here. So the images we shared it with the team just to share the rating of these photos. They're fine. They're just some of situational events that are ongoing conversation of deals that are happening right now, in which we can't disclose the details. We're helping to support a couple of initiatives down there that are currently in the works, and there are people coming together to do some pretty great things in the city, which is really, really, really exciting. But there's only so much that we can disclose. So sharing some images of that portray aspects of that context is not something that we can do on the call. So the parties weren't that wild, but yeah, being in the Super Bowl or in Vegas for the Super Bowl, I personally don't watch football much anymore. I used to when I was younger. I always preferred College Bowl over Pro Bowl because of the focus and the energy. But I would say that, especially at this level, right at the Super Bowl level, it's kind of that same reflection where the teams are battling for this title, and it was an excellent game. We did get to see the game at the end of the week at a couple of different viewing parties with different groups of people. The first group of people was with the NFL alumni, which was really cool. Being in the room with people that can directly relate to that kind of energy. And then the second event that we went to was in a community out there in the venture studio space. Shout out to Kurt Walker doing awesome things. But they have a really cool space where one of the rooms has projections all over the walls. Hi, Lori. One of the rooms in their facility has projections all over the walls. So they had the background of like a stadium, and they had 5 or 6 different full streams all around the room of the Super Bowls, and everybody was crammed in there. It was really, really, really high energy. So it was a very cool space to watch the Super Bowl in. And then the city itself, we only had to deal with traffic like once, right? Like I think it was the night of the Super Bowl, right after. That's right. Driving back to the hotel.
The city was actually incredibly well organized, and the chaos down there was actually only slightly more than a normal Vegas day in the summer. So that's saying a lot for the time of year when people normally don't go down as heavily.
Also, if we can't talk about it at all, I can cut this part out.
Oh no.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I was like, I want to look at an image just to like be able to pull from something. But as you were talking, I also was thinking about like, so we've been working on this for a really long time. Like, how is the feeling of seeing our logo all, up on a big screen, all those pixels?
So the event that our logo was on the main stage of a gaming event at the beginning of the week, which was super cool. I unfortunately was not out there for that arrangement. That was at the very beginning of coordinating all of this. But we do have an image. It was a gaming esports event, Gamerfest, I think it was, where we were able to get our logo up. That was really cool. It was a material representation of the hard work we've been putting in, and I don't know, felt nice. And then supposedly we were scattered about the city as well. Same thing with the other sponsors that stepped in. Just really cool to think about having a presence at that scale with any sort of visibility to the public who has no idea who we are during a massive event like that. It's pretty dope. Lots more to come.
How was the difference with the crowd? Like, I know that it's a Super Bowl and basically you're surrounded by NFL players, but there's also people that are in the startup scene as well. So how is it compared to the other events that you've been in?
That's a great question. So I got to go to the NFL breakfast as a guest, and game day, and Main Street Bonds and 22 Salute as sponsors, which was just very cool being in the room. And they had a small award ceremony. There was the Native community honored a couple of the players and for their participation and their support of the community. That was really, really cool to see. They did a kind of a traditional ceremony of wrapping them in this blanket that was blessed in a proper way with tobacco and everything like that. And they made the joke that it was done in the proper way as opposed to the casinos, and that was kind of funny. But yeah, having the honorary aspect of that and like seeing more behind the veil of the culture of the NFL, and how they support each other and elevate the community and things like that was pretty cool. And then after that, we found ourselves in a room of for the partners of the events, and that's where like, it was a room full of NFL partners and agents and players. When I realized it was completely foreign to me because I am not in the world of sports, and it was an interesting dynamic being somebody in venture and being somebody in tech, walking amongst masters in their own right that are literally giants. They are probably bigger than you think they are in real life, which is pretty cool. But all of them so humble and down to earth and just normal people, which is great. I found it in retrospect, I found it interesting to reflect on not knowing where to start a conversation. Usually that's pretty easy for me to connect with people. But because there's such a difference in the world, more conversations of saying like, "Hey, what brings you here?" It's like, "Oh, the NFL." It's a very focused intention. So that was an interesting environment to be in. Yeah, but very cool, very, very cool. And then the other events of being in locations like the Venture House with Kurt's group, and that was like being home, right? Because everybody's there for the similar reason. We're a lot of us are founders or investors, and we've come together for that cause. So that was very natural. And then outside of that, just there was another event that we actually got access to the Steinberg event, which was really, really exclusive. So that was cool. And that was a mixture of both, right? That was a mixture of people that have made it in life to some status to be invited to something like that. And then you'll have professionals, like I met a professional musician, pro player. And then you also have people in the tech space and in the esports space and the gaming space. It was an interesting mashup, but that was a lot easier to navigate as well, because it wasn't essentially focused around the NFL specifically. But yeah, it was cool. It was definitely a collection of a lot of different types of dynamics depending on which event and which day.
I think we should address the person in the room. Hello, Lori, for joining. We're recapping our parts of the Vegas expedition, and we are bringing our medium energy this time, as we're half a coffee short and very Vegased out. But if you would do us a huge solid, and this is the first episode in which you're here with us. If you can give us a quick intro, and then afterwards, if you had any particular questions about the trip or a topic that you wanted to engage in, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Lori, and Andrew and I met in a comment section on LinkedIn, and we chatted a little bit about venture capital and community building. My background is in the marketing, the product market fit, and go to market for pre-seed startups and building communities and traction for them. So either they can bootstrap or they can go to look for investments but have some more negotiation power. And so we had a lot of cool conversations about the synergistic things we could do together. And as I learned more about the team and learn more about what everybody's doing, it was something that I knew I wanted to be a part of. I don't have a lot. I don't have any aerospace background. So that's been an interesting experience for me to learn more about venture studios, because I come from the VC background. It's a little bit of a jump there, but also the aerospace and deep tech and the smart cities and things that really are making a big impact. And that's where I'm a mom, I've got my kids, and I really want to be a part of the companies and the people who are trying to have that holistic and genuine care for planet Earth and humanity. And so it made sense to team up with you guys. And I've been loving it so far. Everybody rocks. So as far as the Vegas trip, first of all, I was bummed I didn't get to go. I had looked at going, but there was a lot of things I had to do here in Utah because I'd just been back and forth to other events as well. So you all came out to Utah Tech Week, so that was all fun. So I was recovering from that, and you guys kept going. So well done. I wanted to hear more about just what did you learn, or what can we take from an event like that? Because we're building, studio, we're building companies, founders, things like that. But what went really well that you feel like we can do then for our own community and then the communities of the companies that we are bringing in and nurturing?
I'll take this one. I would say kind of that same essence that we've been speaking to about Utah as a whole and the community there, and what we're starting to see in these startup communities that are popping up all over the U.S. Is the focus on creating an environment that is conducive to benefiting everyone involved, where everyone without an ulterior motive is just focused on adding value and helping and elevating each other. That really rung through the backbone of this week. Secondly, building community in general, in a space where people can come together to do that, is something that we've observed. It was happening here, and there's a very high potential for impact, and for making a difference in the world in general, whether that's orchestrating a very high caliber series of events where you bring people of likeness together to collaborate and benefit and all of that, or it's just creating a space where passively people can come together to work toward their own initiatives individually together. I think it's something that Lori's familiar with. But yeah, I'd say that. And then also one thing that we learned with things of this scale, there's a lot of moving parts. So coordination and planning is foundational. And any instance in which one of the things that we learned through, in retrospect and through observation, is having that done significantly ahead of time, and doing the proper due diligence to make sure that everybody that's coming to the table to put on events like this are properly vetted, will help smooth the process, so we don't have to have a hero come in like Game Day or JC to save something because one loose thread unbound a week's worth of events, sort of thing. So having that proper planning and that vetting up front was a huge lesson to learn, even before we got involved. As soon as we heard about it, we're like, oh snap, like this is something that let's pick up the phone and see what we can do. So that was a really, excuse me, a really big thing. Yeah, and being present, showing up.
I had a more general question. I hope it's okay to ask. And maybe this was covered before I was brought in, but what was the deciding factor between going and building a VC studio versus a firm kind of a thing? Because like I said, I've worked with venture capital firms. I was there, hired as a marketer there. What was it like? Was it any one factor that was like, yeah, we're going to do the studio version versus a firm kind of a decision?
Yeah, let me respond to that with a slight question. When you were at the firms, how much involvement did you feel they had with their portfolio companies? And for those listening, portfolio companies are all often shortened to portcos. We don't try to do acronyms on the podcast to the best of our ability. We can explain more later. But yeah, how did it feel working with the portcos? And like how intimate were the investors at the firm?
That was a really frustrating factor for me because I kept hearing how we had an investment in the founders, and I was like, great, let me talk to them. And it was like, no, we don't talk to them. You have to go through one particular person and they talk to the founder. And so all my communication had to go through one person, and I was not able to build a relationship like I wanted to with those portfolio companies because, there was a gatekeeper. And so I was really frustrated. I did work with portfolio companies, but I worked through a gatekeeper working on their marketing. And so it was actually really frustrating because there wasn't any direct communication with those founders.
And that level of intimacy, that connection between the founders and the funders, right? We want it to be less that we want to be much more than just a wallet and some sovereign entity that points fingers and acts as some boss to some poor, needy founder, right? We actually, although we go to events and we often get tagged as funders, right? We are more like founders in a box. Mm-hmm. When we think about ourselves as a venture studio, we're not coming to you, the audience, who might have your own entrepreneurial ideas and goes like, you're a wallet. No, if you had a co-founder, a person with you, right? That's us. We just happen to have a dozen heads. One. So we want to elevate entrepreneurs and their ideas. We don't want them to go in and learn to crawl and then walk and then run and sprint. We don't see it as the value of through certain mistakes, and we don't necessarily see it as taking shortcuts either. We see it as certain needless steps in the entrepreneurial process in which some founders only ever do once. Tons of red tape. Andrew and I are looking at tons of red tape right now. And we're like, great. And then we'll do this once. And then once we have the legal team built out, they'll take it forever, right? And then our portfolio companies, it doesn't matter to us that they know every intricacy, every business side of business building, right? We want them to focus on leading the charge in their passion and their mission and their products that they're building. So it's more, the phrase I like to think of is like, don't wait for a wake-up call. And it feels like when you have independent founders getting money, there's a lot of wake-up calls. And we see that as a lot of waste And so what drew us to the venture studio model was simply that we can be your actual partner and develop your mission and your passion, because it aligns with our mission and our passion that we don't have the skills necessarily or expertise to come up with ourselves.
Yeah, and Chris said something pretty awesome in one of the last conversations that we had now in Vegas that I think I thought he's going to go there just now, which is don't believe in the requirement of learning to crawl before you walk, learning to walk before you can run. But they're already crawling. It's the beginning of the phase. We want to basically enable them to hop on our backs so we can run together, and that's one thing that was really appealing. And how it organically happened is the driving vision was to create a space where somebody can come in with an idea and we bring it to life, in its most simplest essence. When we originally dove into this venture, I had the assumption that, we should probably start with what we know. We're product people, we're problem solvers. Let's build a product strategy, design, and execution studio. And then after, 18 to 24 months, once we have our systems and processes down and the teams locked in, then we'll eventually evolve this into what we've come to learn as a venture studio, which just enables that aspect of it. But the more people we spoke to, the more we realized that the more people I spoke to, the more that I realized that might not necessarily need to be the case. And then I ran this idea by Chris, and with a healthy amount of skepticism, we decided to give it a shot and just build out what we originally intended to from the very beginning, which was the only thing that was missing was the venture arm. And we're really good at team building, and we're really good at finding the resources to pull together around a vision. That's all we needed to do. It wasn't anything different than what we were originally intending, except for building out a dedicated team with that specific skill set to run the venture arm that we could then beat into everything else that we were already doing anyway. So it just kind of naturally progressed into, well, that's the end goal and vision. Why not just start that now?
I love that. And I like the idea. And that's what I kind of have been learning and studying. And, the books, Andrew, that you recommended, learning more about Venture Studio, is that it does seem more like, instead of, every venture capital firm says, oh, we do more than just write a check. But really, because there's so much red tape, it's hard for them to do much more. But as a venture studio, we're saying, look, like we aren't just helping you build your company. We are going to build your company together. And I think that's what I've really gotten excited about, is that I'll be able to have access to talk to people and help them and be able to, do what I love to do with a variety of people. And we're a great team to do. I'm excited. Sorry. I know y'all are mellow. I already have my coffee. I'm excited to be here. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
It gets me amped up to think about it. So I'm excited too.
Very cool. Chris, I see you unmuted. We're gonna.
Yeah. I was going to say that to that point, right? Andrew and I learned our lesson in terms of moving past crawling. And now that we're helping other founders see the steps in which we hope that they don't have to make, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't see the virtue in doing certain types of hard work over and over. There were no, if that was the case, we would be building civilization from scratch every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, humanity is built on the shoulder of giants and the shortcuts of geniuses. Carolina or Z, any questions for us?
I asked my question.
Any additional follow-ups?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Ooh, can I ask, what's it like working with your husband?
That's okay. It's very interesting, I gotta say. But what works really good for our dynamic is give the other person like just the wrong way. Like we trust each other, and that's something that think that's one of the reasons I'm married to him, right? I can trust him blindly. And whenever we both don't feel like, oh, I might not be on the right path, or we're questioning any decision that we be making, we always bring it first to each other. And we try to see it from like not necessarily the perspective of a wife, but I wanna, like, even if you bring me a situation that's, I don't know, that happened with another business owner, we always try to put each other into the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
To be like, were you really right to act like this, or is it just an emotional thing? Or like we try to be kind of play devil's advocate, right? And I think it also helps the fact that not only the trust, but I know I'm married to a super smart person.
Oh, stop.
That's one of the things that I love how intelligent he is. So like sometimes I'm like I feel intimidated by it, but I definitely be rather married to a smart person than to a stupid one. I can do stupid. So yeah, it's interesting, but like he has it all figured out, man. Sometimes he comes to me with like questions and like, you already got the answer. Why are you even asking me?
So I could say very much the similar thing in the opposite way. So she intimidates me sometimes because of how she's enabled herself to propel through life and get to where she's at. I mean, the woman that was just describing me, my wife, has a master's degree that she put herself through, and through her final presentation for her final project for her bachelor's, was awarded a scholarship for a master's degree, and that was all being done through the regular turmoil of her life and working a full-time job, right? Yeah, so like it's humbling to receive praise and recognition from somebody that I look up to as well. And yeah, very much we're sounding boards for each other throughout my even the advancement of my professional career. The only reason that I headed down this path of product design was because of the questions that she would ask and the direction that she would just afford me to consider. It's the only reason that we're all here today having this conversation is because of that. So yeah, ever grateful for her, and thank you for your kind words. She's a genius in disguise as well. Very very humble about it. And I think just creating relationships in general and surrounding yourself with people that you could be open and honest and have a two-way street of communication with will take you so far in life. You want that in your romantic relationships, but you also want that in your professional relationships, in your business relationships. You want that at the table. And that's something that I'm very grateful and fortunate to be able to say that I think we've done here in a pretty short period of time with some wickedly intelligent and talented people here on the team also. But yeah, so working together is just very much us moving forward in the same dynamic that we've had in life, which is pretty cool. And we engage very professionally as we do in life, believe it or not. Like we're sounding boards for each other. We respect each other's perspective and opinion, and we're just doing that here too. So it's pretty cool.
Yay, happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. And to you as well, and to everybody out there. It's a day past Valentine's Day. Very cool. All right, so to kind of recap, Utah Tech Week was intense, and it was like over 12 hours a day of meeting new people, talking about ideas, sharing the possibility of what's to come. I got back and the next day dove into SpaceCom for a 3-day event, right into the world of aerospace, and made more connections and built more relationships. Those have begun to evolve. We've spoken about those a bit. And then not even a week later, I ended up going out to Vegas to help support some more events. I am very much looking forward to just taking it easy. And by easy, I mean not traveling and being engaged in rooms of people and making quantum leaps from my home office. Pretty excited about that. Sleeping in past 7.
Yep. We'll get there. And then it's amazing to see how Utah led into GOM and then space, and then Utah also led into incidentally, and the connections that we're building see much fewer degrees of Kevin Bacon than expected. The people that we know or have met through Lori, we then met in person, and in either Utah and then in Vegas, and then we talked to on calls, and then who are like in New York or Texas or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, we worked with that person. Oh yeah, we recommend this person. Oh, we're already talking to so and so.
Yeah, that's been really interesting.
There's a lot of people working in the venture space, but there seems to be a lot of names that go well around it. And those people, these super connectors, as the social term is, are the ones that love connecting and building their community, and elevating folks like us. And we're not ashamed to be elevated by others. I think when you talk to many other founders of startups, there is an ego problem, where there's a drive for success on their individuality, their quirk, and their superpower. Instead, we humble ourselves and go like, we don't know a ton of things. Maybe not even 10% of the things that we need to know, and it's okay.
But we're
draw people that know it.
I'd say, but we're damn good at figuring it out with the help of other people.
Yeah. And they also don't know things, and that's how they got into their position. And there's things that we don't necessarily want to be super excellent at, right? We want to be good, but we don't want to be the holder of the crown.
Yeah.
And when we saw certain individuals building communities, out in Vegas in particular, it really hit home to Andrew and I, kind of that notion that people were building communities in different ways and what their end goals were. We met with a fantastic gentleman on our very last day in Vegas, or more like hour 30 of 36 for me. We tried to get some sleep as best we could. So around hour 30 of 36, we managed to meet a fantastic gentleman out at this, what I would describe as a future esports arena, and film production studio, maybe. But met out just to see the technology and some other things. But afterwards, we went and got brunch, and we talked about what are the things ailing him and what's keeping him up at night, and what are the projects, and more importantly, what were his goals that he saw. And he contrasted his goals with other folks in Vegas whose goals were similar, but their approaches were different. The actuation and execution of things, and to us, that was interesting because we might not be in the public eye for most of 99% of the things we do. It's going to be through the lens and the outcome of our portfolio companies are people that we try to up level, as the business phrase will make it seem. And in this particular instance of community building, we were initiated to the fact that some of his driving passions were generation of NFL players or professionals, athletes, and that the previous generations were not investing in. They were investing in the community in what we consider more traditional ways, through charities, through third-party organizations. Seen as experts in a domain, they were just seen as checkbooks, right?
Yeah.
And many of the professionals, for those listening, in the NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, American sports, are actually not multimillionaires. They're more like multi-hundred-thousandaires. You get people who take different career pathways, and you go, well, one has a future after sports, and one doesn't. And they should. A bridge for people who not only take their efforts and put it back into the community and show that they can actually be business professionals, and then the barrier is lower, then they can be the hero of their own story. That is the spirit which I saw in Vegas, which mirrors that of Utah and many other places. These, to us, titans that we spoke to, they have built their career and their success, raising not hundreds of millions of dollars of impact in communities, but for the community, whether or not it's a degree or two separation removed. And Andrew and I have talked at length in that we feel that we are trying to better benefit the community, which is humanity, through the advancement of certain technologies and innovations that move us past today and well into tomorrow.
And the really exciting thing, because that was the conversation Chris is referring to, started earlier that week when I was there. I was forwarded the opportunity to get to know him a little bit better, understand his values, what his history was, why is he working toward what he's working toward. And there's this light that we saw in him that when he thinks about the initiatives that he chooses to, the ventures that he chooses to partake in, he just radiates passion. Like, he focuses on the impact of the decisions that he's making and the involvement that he has. And that is what sung true to us. So there's some alignment in some of the things that he's doing. One, we're problem solvers, and we can be useful minds at the table. So an understanding in the follow-up conversation where he's at and where he wants to go, I was there. But also he's in a handful of industries which has cross-pollination with a lot of the initiatives that we're focused on here as well. So just another relationship that is conducive to mutually beneficial environment for more people than just the two people involved. And that was really, really exciting. So we decided to have that breakfast as a follow-up. And we have some short-term focus projects that we're going to dive into. We got a working session going, I think, later today, if not tomorrow. So that's the other thing I really appreciate too. So what we bring to the table, we live up to our name, Actuate Ventures. The whole reason we came up with that name is like the concept of actuation. you can be presented with opportunities all day and information all day and relationships all day, and you can meet the best of the best, and you can meet people that are incredibly talented and innovative, and you can be instilled with all the ideas of the world. But if you don't do anything, doesn't mean period. Like, action is really in the right action and figuring out how to move forward in a really iterative way in response to like the changing of dynamics and everything that's involved in that process. That's the heart of what we do and why we do it. And with the focus on the advancement of humanity and society as a whole. And so when we find other individuals that have that core, that energetic core in their being to do the same, we figure out how we can run together. So there's a lot of alignment in a couple of ventures of what he's doing. One is creating that bridge between opportunity and individual with the means to create and maintain opportunity for themselves throughout life. So that's one of the first things that we're going to be exploring together, is how to create a vehicle to enable that. And we've already got some thoughts and progress initiated on that, which is pretty cool. And then just literally creating the future together. So he's in some spaces that enable some of our very future thinking initiatives here that we're running through the studio as a born in-house idea. And they're just people that can help enable that significantly sooner than later. So we end up in a future that we've co-created together. I know this is really ambiguous and gooey sounding, but there's only so much that we could talk about in the stages that they are. But we are literally creating the physical and digital infrastructure in which the future will exist, and which we will exist within that future. I'll leave you with that. But it's good stuff, and there's a lot happening in a lot of different places. And what's nice to see is the coming together of great minds and resources and wanting to co-build that together. So we're really excited to be a part of that at scale and in multiple places. So if you are, excuse me, somewhere out in the world with a great idea, and maybe you're telling yourself that story that you don't have the money, you don't have the resources, maybe you don't have all of the know-how to bring something that you believe would be truly revolutionary or help advance humanity or society, reach out. That's what we're here for. And that's what we're looking to enable. Cool. And on that note, happy Thursday, everybody. Yeah, hope y'all have an awesome weekend. Get out there, ask yourself something, and seek something that you've learned from your week that you've been out there and doing, either from something you've directly experienced or observed, and ask how you can take that information and turn it into an action item for yourself for the upcoming week. Ours is just going to be to follow up on these conversations, make sure they turn into working sessions, and continue to move the ball forward, I think. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.